Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem Rakakadash, and I want to say Shalom to Yaakov out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And this is just a little short one titled, Strap on That Armor, We've Got a Battle to Fight. And this is, of course, inspired through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, just based off of Ephesians 6 and 10 through 20. And, the battle that we got to go through, which, of course, is not after flesh and blood. Okay, so let's actually, what do we want to get? Let's just do it in the order that I had. Let's get 2 Corinthians 10 and 3 first. Okay, so you see we're over here in Ephesians 6. We're going to do a quick little jump over to, what did I say it was? 2 Corinthians 10 and 3. 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 3. And it's going to read, it says, For though we walk in the flesh, we are in these fleshly bodies, right? We have skin, we have blood, right? For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. So we are in the flesh, but we're not fighting fleshly battles, okay? We're not we are in a sense fighting the flesh, but we're not. Our battles are not fleshly. All right, if that makes sense. We battle the flesh as in like carnality, carnal desires, carnal lust. We try to abstain from those. Okay, we don't do those things, so we do fight that battle. But our battles are not fleshly. They're not worldly battles that we're fighting. Like a sword and steel type battles, right? We're not actually getting a sword and a literal sword, a literal piece of armor, a literal shield, right? We're not doing those things. It's not literal in that sense, but it's more, I guess you could use the word ethereal. Let's go and look at that word. And let me open up the Baldy here and look at the word ethereal, all right? So, ethereal, define. No, that's not the version. That could work as well. Ethereal means seeming to belong or coming from another world, so otherworldly. And so that works because we are, we belong to a different world, a world of the Israel, a cosmos, right? Cosmos, the world of Israelites. Okay, so we are a different world. We're not fighting this world's battle, but our world's battle, which are things of the spirit, not of the flesh. So, what's the word I want to get? Not ethereal, but essentially, not ethereal, but our weapons are essentially spiritual. They're not physical. There's another word. It's not physical. There's another word, opposite of physical. Ethereal is used sometimes in it, but it's really, there's a different word for it. Think of it as not metaphysical. There's a word for it, and I'm not going to hold up time on that, but there's a word. If the brother knows the word, he can put it down below. But we're not warring with literal, actual, iron and brass and bronze, steel, and steel weaponry, okay? All of our armor and our shield and our weapon is all reference to scriptural and spiritual things, okay? So we're not fighting literal battles with soldiers. We're not, fighting. These people out in the world, they got their own battles. We're not fighting those battles, all right? We're fighting a different battle entirely, okay? Right here, as it says in verse 4, it says, For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds. So, they're not carnal. So carnal is in flesh. They're not fleshly weapons like an actual axe, an actual mace, an actual sword, all right, an actual spear. We have those things, but they're spiritual versions, okay? For example, our sword is our Bible, right? Our armor is, different pieces of this truth, wisdom, hope, faith, trust, right? That's our armor at the end of the day. Not a breastplate that's literally meant to protect from a carnal physical weapon, okay, but from spiritual attacks, okay. Again, verse 4, For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds. Verse 5, it says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of Yahweh, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your disobedience is fulfilled. So let's go ahead and get those same ones, 3 on down through 5. And let's just start from the top of the Bible in basic English. It says, for though we may be living in the flesh, we are not fighting after the way of flesh. All right, we're not doing fleshly things. And again, we have to abstain from doing fleshly things because the flesh tries to take root. All right, and we have to fight that off. But we're not literally, having fleshly battles. We are battling the flesh, not battling in the flesh. All right, if that makes sense. Verse 4, for the arms with which we are fighting are not those of the flesh, but are strong before Yahweh for the destruction of high places, putting an end to reasonings and every high thing which is lifted up against the knowledge of Yahweh, and causing every thought to come under the authority of Mashiach. We actually got to get to verse 6 to finish it up. Being ready to give punishment to whatever is against his authority after you have made it clear that you are completely under his control. So our battles, all right, are things that are against Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's authority, okay? And while we're not literally having a carnal battle, we're not actually taking up a weapon and going and attacking. I mean, you can't attack a demon with a physical arm, all right? You have to have a spiritual toolkit to attack that. And then the same thing, Esau. We're going through the shit with Esau, with all the stuff that they happen to put out in this world and all the things that they do. But at the same time, we're not physically going out and attacking them, right? Our attack is by teaching and preaching in sincerity, right? As I mentioned, a couple lessons ago, the Apostle Gabar mentioned how every time we teach and preach, well, actually, let me actually get my notes because I have them, because I wrote it down verbatim. I can actually tell you what lesson it was, too. Let's see. Yeah, this is the part right here. Let's see if I want to read up. So it was from the daily live stream on April 23rd, 2026, titled something about the world upside down. I just left a little note. That wasn't the full name. So let me move this so you brothers and sisters can hear me more. All right, it's going to be a little bit lower, but let me see. So, my phone cord keeps on messing it up. Bear with me. Salakia. All right, that should work. So, boom, 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 boom. It's about the internet. Let me try to find the part. So, let's jump over real quick to Acts 17. Where are we at? And 6. All right. Acts 17 and 6. It says, and when they were not able to get them, they took Jason and some of the King James Version. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto rulers of the city, crying, these that have turned the world upside down are come hither also. So, dealing with Paul and Silas, all right? And the note here was, when Paul and Silas were teaching, the word was stirring up the world, all right? And like it says, they come to turn the world upside down, right? And that's how we fight Esau, all right? Not with a carnal arm, such as an actual sword, a baseball bat, a gun, right? That's not what we do, because that's how Esau thinks. They're carnal, right? They think about touching the flesh. No, you got to touch the system, and touching the system is by, the best way to destroy the system is keep teaching and preaching this word. More notes, it said it stirs up. So another note here, it says the word was stirring up the world, whether it be for good or bad, right? It says, and then I put, it stirs up our minds in a good light, but also judgment for those that are the Lord's enemies. So it stirs them up in a bad way. All right, it gets them all in their feelings, messes up their mental, right? And then, of course, we got Isaiah 55 and 11. Let's get that one. Verse 11. And it says, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. Oh, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void. It should not be, worthless or nothingness. But it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Then I had for this, of course, which was the apostle speaking. Apostle Gabar said, when this truth goes out, it doesn't go out void. Every time a part of Esau's kingdom falls apart. And he's mentioned that every time we teach this truth, a little piece of this society, dies off. Is there another note? And then it was in reference to Psalms 124 and 1 through 8, about these elites, eventually trying to rise up against this truth and the elect. And I had here, it says, we expect these elites to rise up against us eventually. They have wrath because we're telling them that their kingdom is about to get destroyed. The waters are Esau's different police groups, but we will be delivered from these people's wrath, some martyred, and our help is in the name of the Lord. And then Jeremiah, is that 23? Jeremiah 23 in verse 29, right here. Is not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock in pieces? And then for that one I have, this truth smashes its opposition. All right, so that's how we fight against Esau society. Let's go back here to, where were we? 2 Corinthians 10 and 3. All right, let me put this notes back up. But yeah, man. So it's it smashes this whole thing apart. And what is this society? All right, so that's essentially a siege. Okay, that's a Esau's kingdom under siege. Okay, let's go and look that up. Okay, what is a siege? Now, I got it the first time and then switched over to the game. No, just look. A siege is a military tactic where an armed force surrounds a fortified place, cutting off supplies and communications to force a surrender through action, attrition, or direct assault. And this what we're doing is a direct assault on Esau society, all right? And it's not carnal arm, but it is a siege, all right? We are surrounding their societies, all right? And it is a siege, and they're not going to, they're too proud to really surrender, all right? And what happened to people that were too proud to surrender, if you know anything about medieval times, what happened? Their kingdom, all right, was just completely destroyed, all right? The siege, they'd bring out the weaponries, the ballasts, all right, the trebuchets, all right, catapults, whatever you want to call them, and different siege weaponry, armies, soldiers, right, archers, longbowmen, shortbowmen, war bows, crossbows, the ballast, all right, the ballista. It was basically just a giant fucking crossbow. And they would just break the walls down and slaughter the people until there was nothing left, right, to get rid of their opposition. And that's what would happen to the people that were too proud to just surrender. No, we're not surrendering. And they would be completely overthrown. And that's what we're doing to Esau in a non-carnal, spiritual way, all right? They refuse to surrender, all right, because they're a proud man. They're never going to turn back. They're never going to repent. They're never going to apologize. They're never going to admit what they did was wrong, all right, and come back to Yahweh Shmi Shai. They're not. Okay, so we have surrounded them completely with this truth on all manners of the internet, all right, everywhere on the internet that you go, right, TikTok, there's, maybe not Great Millstone, but I think there are a few brothers that are on there, but the truth is going out even on there, all right, to an extent, all right, Instagram, it's going out. There's brothers that have Instagrams. It's going out on there. It's going out on Rumble. It's going out on Odyssey. It was going out on BitChute. It's going out on YouTube. All right, it's going out on like every platform. Right, Facebook. There's Facebook pages I've seen of the Israelites. Right. So this has been, their society has been completely surrounded. All right, I won't say every street corner, but you go to different cities. All right, all their main cities. All right, Chicago, Phoenix, L.A., New York. All right, New York, Brooklyn. You know, all these different places. Bridgeport, Dallas. You know, I could keep going on and going on and going on. Birmingham, Alabama. You know, so on and so forth. On and on and on and on and on. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Right. Raleigh, North Carolina, these major cities, they can't get away from it. Every single city has a group of brothers set up, or at least a single brother set up, that's teaching and preaching. Look, man, they're completely surrounded, and that assault is going forth. And it's not a physical assault. It's not a carnal arm. We don't have swords. Well, we do have swords. It's our Bible. We don't have physical swords. We have spiritual swords, and our sword is the Holy Bible. All right? And that shows you, man, that it's a full-fledged assault, and they're not going to surrender. So eventually, the biggest sieged weapon ever invented, Yahweh Shemai Shai, is going to come back, and he's more than just a weapon, but he's going to, he said he's not going to meet us as man. He's not going to come back as man. You know how he's going to come back? He's going to come, and it's funny because the apostle was just talking about this earlier. He's going to come back as a destroying force, okay, i.e. a weapon. Okay, and he's going to destroy the society. He's going to destroy Esau. He's going to destroy his kingdoms. He's going to destroy all these things, put all these things to an end. All right, and he's also going to save the elect. All right, so that right is not a war of the flesh. Okay, going back into 2 Corinthians 10:3, that is not a war of the flesh at all. Okay. For though we may be living in the flesh, we are not fighting after the way of the flesh. For the arms with which we are fighting are not those of the flesh, but are strong before Yahweh for the destruction of high places. These words, this truth, really. The easy-to-read version, we live in this world, but we do not fight our battles in the same way that the world does. Absolutely. It says, the weapons we use are not human ones. Our weapons have power from Yahweh and can destroy the enemy's strong places. We destroy people's arguments. We tear down every proud idea that raises itself against the knowledge of Yahweh. We also capture every thought and make it give up and obey Hamashiach. We are ready to punish anyone there who does not obey, but first we want you to be fully obedient. So we are obedient unto Yahweh Shemai Shai, and these individuals that are not, we're against them as well. All right, we're against Esau, we're against the nations, we're against the 2/3 Israelites. We have a lot of battles, man. We have a lot of battles. All right, but they're not carnal battles. Okay, they're not carnal battles. So let's go over now and get Ephesians 6:10 through 20. Okay. Okay, starting with verse 10, and right at the top, okay, you can see it says the whole armor of Yahweh. The whole armor of Yahweh. So, it says, okay, just making sure. Finally, verse 10, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. Not strong in your arms, not strong in, there's another scripture talks about, they trust in chariots, or princes, not in those things, but in Yahweh Shemai Shai. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Okay, we don't have to be, physically strong in this truth because we have Yahweh Shemai Shai to be physically strong. Now, when the Lord comes back, or shortly before he comes back, he is going to put spiritual power on us, and we are going to become physically strong. But in the time that we're in now, some of us are frail, some of us are, sickly, right? Just made that lesson yesterday, right? But when he comes back, we're not going to be, sickly like that. If we have to, battle, the Lord's going to put a spirit on us, all right? Verse 11, put on the whole armor. That's everything, whole, all right? The complete set, right? Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Of course, the devil's Esau, Edom. So the different things that they're doing in the society, again, these sicknesses are part of the curses, but it's also part because of all the things that they put in the air, the things that they put in the water, the things that they put in the food. You got to eat, you got to drink. All right, you go, well, I'm just not going to eat, any of the processed stuff. Well, they've already showed the organic stuff is filled with all sorts of chemicals and shit too, man. That you go to, they're putting the Capri Sun, the jabby jab. All right, they're putting that V8. All right, inside of the vegetables, man. All right, so what are we supposed to do? Just not eat vegetables? We'll go eat some meat. Well, half that meat's mixed with human and other a rat feces and other things. So what are we supposed to do? Not eat that? I mean, we can make better options, but none of the options are actually specifically that good. So, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay, so we're not, it's not flesh and blood. Again, that's that carnality, flesh and blood. That's Esau. That's the way Esau whirls. He thinks, killing the flesh is enough. He can't touch the spirit, but he thinks that just killing the flesh is enough, right? So against principalities, against, rulerships and laws and things that they've set up here, right? So, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So let's go and pop over to the Bible in Basic English for that one real quick. It says, our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against authorities and powers, against the rulers of this dark night. No, against this dark wickedness. It says against the spirits of evil in the heavens, which is they've basically encompassed everywhere, right? So, back in 13, King James, back in the King James, it says, wherefore. So what are we going to do if we're warring against Esau's society? We're warring against, the wicked bullshit that's going on in the society. All right, what are we to do, right? How can we be protected? Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all to stand. So, here we go. This is our kit. All right, this is the kit. Verse 14, it says, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with the truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. Okay, so the breastplate is righteousness. Let's write these down. Okay. Breastplate. Righteousness. Okay. And having on the breastplate of righteousness, verse 15, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Okay. So boots or feet. All right. I'll just put boots. Preparation. How's it say it? Preparation of the gospel of peace. Okay. It says, above all, taking the shield of faith. So shield is faith. Okay. Having the, where were we? Right here. Taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. That's the things that they try to send out on you, right? Whether they be, mostly all these laws and hells and mischief that they do against us in this society, all right? A fiery dart of the wicked essentially could be, them trying to get you to do something that you shouldn't be doing, right? That's a fiery dart, all right? And another fiery dart is them taking your channels down. There's another fiery dart, right? It says, and take the helmet of salvation, okay? So the helmet is salvation, okay? And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, okay? And the sword is the Spirit. Okay, having the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahweh. Okay, the Spirit, the word. Okay, not actually capitalized word. All right, the word. Okay, So that's the Bible, all right? That's our sword. It says, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. And for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in bonds. We are ambassadors of this truth, right? We're in the world, you hear about a brand ambassador. A brand ambassador is someone who essentially represents a brand. All right, a brand ambassador for Nike. They talk about Nike. They talk about how good Nike is, what Nike's going to do next, what they've done in the past, right? And that, you know, everybody should get on board with Nike, right? Well, we do that for Yahweh Shem Shai. The things he's done in the past, things he's done in the present, why you should get with it, what's he going to do, all right? Why he's so great, right? That's what we are. We're ambassadors of Yahweh Shem Shai. It says, for which I am an ambassador in bonds, and that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. And we do speak boldly, and people hate us for it. So let's get that in the Bible in basic English, right? So it says, lastly, be strong in the Lord in the power of his, in the strength of his power. Take up Yahweh's instruments of war, so that you may be able to keep your position against all the deceits of the evil one. That's Esau Edom. For our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against authorities and powers, against the world rulers of this of the darkness of world rulers. I don't know why they put this dark night. I guess you can use that as well. Against the spirits of evil in heaven, and you know that's basically not in literal heaven, but throughout the heavens. It encompasses the whole world, right? For this reason, take up all the arms of Yahweh, the armor, right, so that you may be able to be strong in that evil day. And having done all, keep your place. Take your place, then having your body clothed with the true word, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness. Be ready with the good news of peace as shoes on your feet. And most of all, using faith as a cover to keep off all the flaming arrows of the evil one. And take salvation of your headdress and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahweh, with prayers and deep desires, making requests at all times in the Spirit, and keeping watch with strong purpose in prayer for all the saints. And for me, that words may be given to me in the opening of my mouth, to make clear without fear the secret of the good news, for which I am a representative in chains, and that I may say without fear the things which it is right for me to say. And I wasn't feeling that version. Let's go to the easy to read version. It says, easy to read, starting with verse 10 again, that to end my letter, I tell you, be strong in the Lord and in his great power. Wear the full armor of Yahweh. Wear Yahweh's armor so that you can fight against the devil's clever tricks. Okay, this one's already having more heat. It says, our fight is not against people on earth. We are fighting against the rulers and authorities and the powers of this world's darkness. This is way better. We are fighting against the spiritual powers of evil in the heavenly places. That is why you need to get Yahweh's full armor. Then on the day of evil you will be able to stand strong, and when you have furnished the whole fight, you will still be standing, right? Because if you didn't have armor, you'd be dead. It says, so stand strong with the belt of truth tied around your waist, and on your chest wear the protection of right living. On your feet wear the good news of peace to help you stand strong, and also use the shield of faith, with which you can stop all the burning arrows that come from the evil one. Accept Yahweh's salvation as your helmet, and take the sword of the Spirit. That sword is the teaching of Yahweh. Awesome. Pray in the Spirit at all times. Pray with all kind of prayers, and ask for everything that you need. This is heavy. To do this, you must always be ready. Never give up. Always pray for all of Yahweh's people, right? So, and his people are who? The elect. So you got to pray for the elect. You're not supposed to pray for the wicked. It says, also pray for me, that when I speak, Yahweh will give me words, so that I can tell the secret truth about the good news without fear. I have the work of speaking for that good news, and that is what I am doing now here in prison. Okay? Pray that when I tell people the good news, I will speak without fear as I should. So yeah, man. And then, do I want to get one more? No, I mean, that pretty much did it. We don't need to get another translation, but we do have two more scriptures to finish up with. We got Exodus 14 and 14. Let's go over there and get that. Exodus 14 and 14. It says, let's get in the King James Version first. It says, the Lord shall fight for you, and you and ye shall hold your peace. So you don't have to really do anything. You don't have to actually go and try to go and physically fight. The Lord's going to fight for you regardless, all right? You shall hold your peace. The only thing that we do, we just teach and preach, all right? That's what we do, and hold our peace, all right? It says in verse 14, the Lord will make war for you. You only have to keep quiet, okay? That doesn't mean that, oh, well, that means you shouldn't be preaching. That's not what it means. It's like we don't have to go and here's an example of staying quiet. You see these people in the street, no justice, no peace, no racist police, no justice, no peace, no gods, no masters, no kings, no warlords over us, no kings. Well, there are gods and masters, right? Well, God being Yahweh Shemi Shai, all right, and then small g, all right, gods, we are likened to gods, we're called gods, and then there are masters. Right, there are masters. Yahweh Shemi Shai is our master. He's a and there is mastery. All right, with him. So, and no kings. Well, there are kings like King David, and then Yahweh Shai is a king. So what are you really talking about at the end of the day? So and then the other thing is that we're going to be crowned. All right, well, kings wear crowns. We're going to be kings. So, and princesses, all right, for the women, queen means a whore, so it's really kings and princesses, but they got prince and princess. It's, they got the order all out. Of course, Esau, they have the order all fucked up, but that's what they do. But, yeah, man, that's what it's talking about. We don't have to literally go and, march through these streets. We can keep quiet when it comes to that, because this truth is enough. This truth is enough. And then finally, let's get Proverbs 18 and 10. Let's go and get it. So Proverbs 18 verse 10, it says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the upright man runneth into it. Well, this is the Bible in basic English. We'll come back to that. I want to get the King James Version first. King James Version, Proverbs 18 and 10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. So, that means what it means. Okay? That means what it means. The best way to put it, I was going to say this. If you have your armor, okay? You have your armor, right? You got your sword, you got your armor, you got your battle. Well, where at the end of the day do the knights return to? Okay? Where do they return to? The keep, the castle, right? The tower, the strong tower. A castle is a strong tower. The keep is a strong tower, all right? So if we have our armor, okay, and on top of having our armor, we have our sword, and on top of having our sword, we have our battle that we're fighting. Where do we go after battle? Or if the battle gets too strong, where can we run into it? Where is it? Well, Yahweh Shemi Shai, and we need the name to be able to do so. Proverbs 18 and 10, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous runneth into it, and is safe. Boom. And I'm not going to even get that in another translation. The Bible in basic English we got part of it, but no, this gives you everything you need to know. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. And you have people out there like Bishop Nathaniel, amongst others, that are essentially trying to keep you from having that strong tower. The name is not important, all right, or all these different things. And regardless if he ever says, you don't need the name. Well, I mean, he has said that, right? You don't necessarily need the name, right? And he said a whole bunch of stuff, all right, and mocked the name of Yahweh Shemi Shai as well, right? And he did it he said, oh, yeah, he did that. He had that one lesson or that one, he was amongst the people, and he said Yahweh Shemi Shai, but he said it in like a mocking way, like, oh, yeah, see, I can say it. That's not the right way to say it, right? And then he boasts about having the best breakdown on the name, but yet he won't tell you the name. So, it's just individuals like that. They want to keep you from having that, really, if you don't, and these people in the world, they don't have the strong tower because they don't have the name, and they don't have any of the armor, they don't have the sword. So these people are going to die, all right, without all of the tools that they need. They are going to die. So that's the lesson. Strap on that armor, we've got a battle to fight. And if you're going into battle, like I've said time and time again in lessons, if you're going to a battle, are you going to go without armor, or are you going to go with armor? I don't know about you, but if we are back in the Middle Ages right now, and they said, oh, we got to go and siege this castle, I'd be trying to get, a sword, all right, some armor, even if it's just leather, even if it's just fur armor, something, something, anything's better than nothing, right? I'd try to get something, all right? Ideally, you'd want to have the full kit, but if you had the helmet, at least you'd have the helmet. But in this truth, you can't go without a full kit, okay? You out in the world, you can go with just the chest piece. You can leave off the helmet. Well, the odds are you might get hit in the head, all right? We don't want to have that opening left open, all right, for lack of a better word. So we have the helmet, we have the breastplate, we have the boots, all right, we have everything that we need, okay, through Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And we have a battle to fight, so we need our armor. And we need our commanding general. And who's our commanding general? Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And we have our armor, we have our Lord, all right, we have our battle, all right, and we have our strong tower, all right, when things get real rough. So that's the lesson. Lord, what was edifying, we're going to close out there. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makakwadash. Shalom, you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.